Welcome back to Better Than a Pill. Today, I'm so excited to have Amanda Yue and Shannon Davis on. And Amanda is our functional medicine practitioner. And remember, she's been able to transform her own health, and her mission is to help others achieve outcomes sustainably. And she has a product that works better than medication for chronic health issues, including mental health and metabolic health, which are correlated, which I know to be true. Shannon is our registered dietitian. For the past 18 years, she's specialized in metabolic health. She has experience in organ transplant, bariatrics, sports nutrition, and nephrology. And her passion is helping people shift their focus to insulin resistance in order to heal from chronic disease. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
And today we are going to be talking about insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. And this is a topic I know that a lot of you listening today can relate to. A lot of you are struggling with type 2 diabetes and or insulin resistance. We're going to get right into it. Let me just say that. So it's high, the rate of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So both of them, prediabetes, which I know myself, I've been told I'm pre-diabetic. I had no idea. And type 2 diabetes are on the rise. So I'm going to throw it at you guys and ask you why? What's the reason?
I'll just jump in there. It's the food environment. It's what we're faced with today. As a dietitian, I was taught to teach people to eat every 2 to 3 hours and to focus on a diet full of low fat, fruits and vegetables, 6 to 12 servings of grains. And that's the food pyramid. But what that has done, if we look at the last 20 to 30 years, when fat got erased and was shunned, diabetes and obesity went through the roof. And diabetes is the far extreme of insulin resistance. It is insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes is a disease of too much insulin and a resistance to that insulin. Pre-diabetes is really just diabetes. It's only a difference of a few tenths of a number. And I feel like pre-diabetes is more dangerous than diabetes because it gives people, oh, I'm not there yet. I don't really need to make a lot of changes. I'm just pre-diabetic. So if we live in the space of pre-diabetes, are we really going to take it seriously? And are we really going to make the changes that we need? But it's truly due to an environment full of highly processed, sugar-laden foods and an environment where we need to eat we're told that if we don't eat every 2 to 3 hours, then we're going to starve or we're going to slow our metabolism down.
Yeah. And so that's a big shift for me too in thinking, because I was taught that way too. And that is very prevalent in even the weight loss centers that I've spent time in. The Duke Diet and Fitness Center, that's what they're teaching. Structure House, where I'm at now, they're teaching that. And so the shift in thinking that it's gonna help us not to do that has been really a big shift for me. I know when we talked about this before, it's like, what? You mean like you're talking about not so much the processed food part. I'm aware of that and I agree with that, but that I don't eat 6 times a day. That's not serving me.
And
Yes.
it's still being taught that way as well, because I had just finished doing a continuing education for my pharmacy license. It's still being, low fat, vegetable oils, seed oils, cut out the saturated fat, and then still recommending higher amount of carbohydrates per meal. And coming from a pharmacist point of view, is Shannon's talking about pre-diabetes, and then you go see your doctor, and guess what? If your A1C is elevated, the first line of therapy is medication. It's not diet. It's not, or they say eat healthier and move more, exercise and diet, but they're not really teaching patient, okay, how.
So to even tag on to what Amanda's saying, people don't even know where to go or what to listen to, Carrie, because so if you're told you're pre-diabetic, most people are going to go American Diabetes Association, Google, and then they're going to open it up, and the American Diabetes Association I'm sorry, but they keep people sick. They're funded by Eli Lilly, who makes insulin. And the American Diabetes Association tells people that they need to eat 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrates per meal. and that you need to have 2 snacks. Now, when someone has insulin resistance, Carrie, we tell people 30 grams or less per day total. So what we're telling people is as their total daily intake is what is less than what the American Diabetes Association is saying per meal. And I told y'all I had something super special, and I'll squirt this in there now because it is perfectly relates that I wanted to let y'all know. So the American Diabetes Society is developing right now. So y'all can Google that. That is a movement that we are creating to move away from the American Diabetes Association to truly teach people how to reverse insulin resistance. I got picked to be on the founding board of the American Diabetes Society. So Dr. Eric Westman, who is at Duke.
Dr. Westman, yes.
So I was on a Zoom yesterday with Dr. Westman and Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Ben Bickman, Dr. David Cavan, who is an endocrinologist in the UK, Dr. Mariella Gaunt, who is an endocrinologist in New York, Dr. Tony Hampton, who's an obesity medicine specialist in New York. We're part of, and then 3 other dietitians, Dr. Temple, or not doctor, but Temple Stewart, Shanna Husin, and Michelle Hearn. All of us together are forming the American Diabetes Society. So this will be the place to go if you are sick with insulin resistance and you want to truly know how to reverse it. I am so happy to promote this because it is the target to insulin resistance. So if it is going to change people's life and it's in your backyard, or Dr. Westman's in your backyard.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Everybody listening today, and I know a lot of you have heard of Dr. Westman. He is a big, low carb keto. Let's look at that. Low carb kid. Here he is. Wow, you're collaborating with him and other, obviously a lot of other knowledgeable people to form a new society because this old society is killing us.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Wow, that's exciting. I'm super excited because the other thing I want to mention here is these medications, right? We've got these, and I don't know, these people, everybody's being told medications. I even think some people are being told when it comes to, correct me if I'm wrong, the type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. And if I had my way, I would have my client come on here, but she's not open to that. She's a retired physician and she's not in public, doesn't want to be in the public eye. Listen, she just started Ozempic. She was hospitalized, traumatized. And I know because I know her and she was not able to do, we had to stop working together for a while. She's back now, but she's for 6 weeks hospitalized because of the drug Ozempic. I want people to hear that today because I care about her and I will never condone Ozempic again after her story, which she won't share, but she's been traumatized by it. So I just want to say that aloud. It's on my heart and mind. So
Carrie, you're not the only one. There's a guy that works out at the gym with me who got semaglutide, which is the compounded version of Ozempic. He has lost ginormous amounts of weight on his own. He doesn't need to lose weight, but he was told that his loose skin would go away if he took this weight loss drug. He got 1 injection. He had to leave. He's not been in the gym an entire week. He's so sick.
And I'm sorry to cut you off there. The Ozempic, it's actually people who are losing weight, they're not losing fat mass. They're losing muscle mass. So like
and
what
bone,
Shannon just said, and bone mass. Exactly. And these are you can't get back. And plus the synthetic GLP-1 agonists, these are like superhuman level doses that's available for weight loss. It's sad. It's very sad for me to dispense so many of these medications as a pharmacist. I see it every day. I get a call because it's on back order and people get upset because they can't get it so they have this idea that this is a miracle drug, a miracle injections that they're going to just inject and then make all their fat go away. It's not. It actually, the side effect, potential thyroid cancer, block intestine, gastroparesis, block guts permanently.
Gut paralysis. We're talking about. And there's a neurosurgeon that I work with who says he has seen food in their gut that's 3 weeks old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you have these Ozempic breath. Yes, it's just like the putrefied foods coming out. It's ew.
But the sad thing that we are all getting to is this medication is being prescribed. Number one, it's being abused. But number two, it's being prescribed for diabetics, and diabetics trust their practitioner. And it's not that their practitioner is intentionally harming them, but it's because they don't know that there are other options.
Yeah. 100%. And I know you guys agree with me on this. We're all aware of our first line of defense. First of all, we want it to be natural. And some of those things we can take charge of right away. We know that. So we can take charge of our way. What I teach, preach, and live, and I know you all do too, is what we're putting in our mouths and how we're using our bodies. So definitely we have some control over that, but there's more to it as I'm learning. And so I wanted to put the floor, in addition to lifestyle modifications that we can, let's talk about some other natural alternatives. So we don't have to go on these medications that are going to kill us or going to keep us in the hospital. And I don't know, I can ask you guys real quick, in addition to that, in addition to Ozempic, metformin, is that another drug? What are some of these drugs? And
metformin is the first line of therapy for if you're diagnosed with diabetes, insulin. And then the thing is, when you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it's due to insulin resistance, due to too much insulin in your body, hyperinsulinemia. And then to give somebody insulin injection, it doesn't make sense. No. So the cells is not responding to insulin. That's why you have insulin resistance. Instead of teaching people how to lower insulin, which is what Shannon and I and our team are doing, is to teach people how to lower insulin through intermittent fasting, to lower carbohydrates intake, to remove processed food, sugar, and prioritize protein, healthy fats, and fiber, to lower your insulin, and how to reverse insulin resistance and reverse all these chronic illnesses that's linked to insulin resistance.
So when someone goes to the doctor, and you mentioned prediabetes and diabetes, that is diagnosed by something called a hemoglobin A1C. And so the hemoglobin A1C is a 3-month average of someone's glucose. Glucose is the sugar that floats around in the bloodstream, and that comes from the food that we eat. And so doctors will measure the red blood cells. So over time of the life of a red blood cell is about 120 days, 90 to 120 days. So they will measure how glycated that blood cell gets, and that sugar glycates it. It browns it, it caramelizes it. And if your A1C is normal, you're going to get a clean bill of health, Carrie. You are great. You go home, you continue to do what you're doing. But what we don't know and what we're missing is in the background, what is really going on? Because our body is an amazing thing, and it will do what it needs to do to maintain homeostasis. So if your blood sugar, you eat high processed foods, high sugar foods, we eat all the time, our glucose is going to start to go up. So to counteract that, our body squirts out more insulin. Now, we're not measuring insulin, we're just measuring glucose. So the whole time, your glucose is normal, but in the background, your body's releasing more and more insulin to keep this glucose normal. But we never see this.
Okay.
So 10 to 15 years, the body you would notice if we measured insulin, that insulin was going up while glucose was remaining normal. Now, if we checked a fasting insulin, we could catch pre-diabetes/diabetes 10 to 15 years before it's diagnosed.
Absolutely.
So that is what I would advocate for all of your clients, all of your listeners. Fasting insulin, and your doctor will be like, oh no, you don't need to check that. We've got an A1C and glucose. Be adamant. It's cheap. It's inexpensive. And it's not an extra blood test. They can take the same vial of blood, request a fasting, so you must be fasting, insulin, and you want that number in the single digits. Ideally 6 or below. But if it's 10 or less, you're pretty average. And even if it comes back per LabCorp or Quest, it might say up to 25 is normal. BS. It's not normal. Okay. Those parameters come from the average population. 83% of our country is sick. That is not normal. It's average.
And that goes for other lab values too. The vitamin D, B12, ferritin. Don't trust the normal range. You want the functional optimal range, right? You want to be optimal. You want to have energy. You don't want to be normal suboptimal. Like Shannon said, they take an average of those value and determines the normal range.
Yeah.
So
thank you, lady. This is so important. So everybody listening, and myself included, we want to get fasting insulin, not just this A1C, to test for prediabetes and diabetes. And the other thing is that we want it to be 6 or less is good, 10 or less is average, not 25. Don't listen to the doctor's results, because we know there's more to it. I know from other disorders, there's going to be more to it. So that is a huge nugget to take away right now. Thank you so much for that.
Just one more thing to Carrie. If the doctor refused to order that, you can order that yourself. They'll reach out to us. We can provide those links for you that you can order them yourself.
Listen to that too, guys. Don't let your doctors tell you can't do this. Get your fasting. Listen, I know I am. Next time I go to the doctor, and fasting, because we learned on before. So fasting, that's excellent and great. So yeah. So the thing that I was going to mention is that I know, okay, yeah, we talked about the diet. Yes. And spot on about what's killing us is a lot of times our diet. But when we start to make changes, which, I advocate, and even myself, no processed food, the sugar, all the whole foods. The other piece that I found that we don't always talk about is this intermittent fasting. That was new to me. And I want to just speak briefly on that, because that can be a scary term. I know it was for me. And rest assured that what that can mean in the beginning is just eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and not snacking. And that may be where a lot of people listening here today need to start. And myself included, I've graduated a little bit more now. My body's adapted, and I got to share in doing the work I'm doing, and also supplementing appropriately to sustain me. I have had 3 normal bowel movements. Yes. Too much information.
No.
Normal poops. And that was like one the first month doing what I'm doing, 2 the second, and now the third. And I'm really working hard. For me, this is a separate topic, but I am pre-diabetic, so that is all tied in, but it just restoring my system. So just wanted to share on that, and then just go in a little bit more and how that helps with pre-diabetes, like how that mindset of just the 3 meals a day or intermittent fasting, just touch on that as a natural solution for people listening today, how they could get started.
You want me to go, Amanda, or you want to go?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. So fasting, there are many different types of fast, but for the purposes of this, we're going to talk about an insulin fast. And really, it just takes 12 to 16 hours of not eating. So when I say that, another term is time restricted eating. Really, Carrie, all we're doing is we're saying we are going to shrink your eating window. We're not necessarily saying that you need to eat less, just eat less often, right? To make it easy, just don't eat after dinner. And ideally, you're going to skip breakfast and you're going to just eat lunch and dinner. And during that time, the reason that's so beneficial is Amanda talked about insulin being high. When we don't eat, insulin can come down, but it takes about 4 hours to come down. So if we stop eating dinner, we go to bed, insulin can come down. And then if we can let it start to stay down for longer, then magic happens. Number 1, our cells become sensitized to insulin again. But number 2, we all carry quite a bit of energy around in storage known as body fat, love handles. But we don't ever get to use that because we're eating constantly. We're providing external fuel. So if we want to use that internal fuel, we can't use that unless insulin is low. And so once insulin comes down and our body can flip into burning that energy for fuel, that's why, Carrie, you notice you're not hungry. In the beginning, you're hungry because insulin levels are still extremely high and your body's not become fat adapted. Your body doesn't know how to pull that fat for energy. Once your body can go there, you can keep going because your body's getting the energy it needs to function from itself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that what you said, I like the time restricted eating. And I think for people listening today, if you think, oh my gosh, I can't skip breakfast, don't worry about skipping breakfast. Just eat your breakfast and then don't eat after dinner. Don't snack in between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then in my case, I want to share that I do not eat breakfast anymore. And I never thought that would be possible. So yeah, so I'm experiencing that, my body adjusting, and I'm still new at it. I'm not an expert, but being able to make that shift is going to help me with my insulin issue, with insulin production. That's really, so the good I'm doing my body in that is just really nice to hear, that I'm doing better things for my body than I even can think of or conceptualize. And I'm also using the Feel Great system product you guys know more about than I do, we can talk about. And that is helping sustain me. And that can help, I think, too. I drink it. I love the taste. It's awesome. I drink it, this yerba mate tea, and it is something that helps me get started in my morning. I'm very productive. I like to be productive. So I'm not affected in that manner. When I drink it twice a day, I look forward to the taste of it and I love it. That the yerba mate, talk about, and then I do something before my meals that helps with the insulin resistance. And typically I do a half a packet of a fiber that you guys can explain more about, that helps with the carbohydrate absorption. So for example, if I do eat carbohydrates or a meal that they have some, that helps with the absorption of it. And so I know that I'm doing good for my body, and I believe that to be true. So I don't know as much about the yerba mate and the fiber, but talk a little bit about that in addition to the intermittent fasting and how that can also help people.
I'll let Amanda, because I've talked. But she can touch on too, because she's the gut specialist. But because we didn't talk about what intermittent fasting or the Feel Great does for gut health, and I know you're a big fan of that, Carrie.
Yeah, me too. I too had leaky gut 6 years ago, so now it's completely resolved. But just the two products, again, this is a tea, it's a concentrated yerba mate tea, and this has been around for thousands of years. And the benefit of this, the beneficial compound of this is the chlorogenic acid, and that is the compound that helps to suppress your appetite. It also helps to regulate your glucose and your insulin levels, decrease inflammations, supports the kidney, neuroprotective, and also helps to increase muscle efficiency and decrease fat efficiency, meaning that if you're an athlete, you can use this too. So Shannon and I, we are an advocate. We are not athletes, but we love to exercise, and we like to create more lean muscles. I'm 55 years old and I'm still able to maintain my lean muscles, which is great. Other things about the chlorogenic acid, the yerba mate tea, the other compound is theobromine. Theobromine exists in dark chocolate, and that helps to boost your energy, your mood. And some people might think that they're sensitive to caffeine. So this does have natural caffeine, but it does not elicit the same epinephrine response as the caffeine in coffee. So you don't get that jittery feeling and that crash. You get the sustained energy, the feel good energy. People notice this right away when they drink the tea. Oh, what's in that tea? I feel good. I have more energy. I don't need my coffee anymore. And then
it's a natural it creates, Amanda, about the GLP-1.
Yeah, it's a natural GLP-1 stimulator. So it's like a natural Ozempic. So you mentioned before your doctor friend went on Ozempic, ended up in the hospital. This actually stimulates your own body's production of GLP-1 without the side effects, suppress your appetites. And since I started this, I was a snacker prior to the Feel Great system. I cannot fast for a long period of time without feeling really fatigued, weak, and also have these cravings. When I come off of my intermittent fasting, I'll be like just eating everything and craving carbs and sugars, and that wasn't doing me service for the intermittent fasting. The second compound is the fiber matrix. So this has been around for 30 years, been around since 1990, before I became a pharmacist. And this one has been studied by the Cleveland Clinic. It has more than 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers. And it forms this matrix in your gut when you take this right before your meal, and you mix it and drink it, and it forms a gelatinous matrix in your gut to help decrease the absorption of carbohydrates, of cholesterol, and prevent postprandial glucose spike, your post-meal glucose. So it helps to keep your insulin level low, regulate your glucose levels. So just to stabilize your glucose and insulin levels so that you don't get these spikes and crest, which eventually that leads to insulin resistance. This has been studied by the Cleveland Clinic. The results says such a product, if taken regularly on a population basis, can reduce the need or the dose of lipid-lowering medications. So this is like a metformin, a statin, what else? Ozempic. And the two together provide synergistic effects. So you use this to help you extend your intermittent fasting because it helps you to shut off the food noise and suppress your appetites, but provides you the energy to do everything that you need in the morning. And this one, you take it right before a meal to help prevent that glucose insulin spike. So the two together, to me, it's life-changing for my family, for myself. I was able to lower my triglyceride by 40%, same with my husband, help my mother-in-law got off of statin diabetes medications and prevent her foot from being amputated as recommended by her doctor because her wound was not healing. So, and we lost weight around the midsection. So you can shrink your love handles with this. So how cool is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. And that really helps me understand that. So I'm doing this intermittent fasting. And the reason that I'm not probably starving is that I'm taking this chlorogenic acid and I'm not having to drink coffee first thing in the morning. I love coffee, so sometimes I will. I'm allowed to do both if I wanted to. I could have a decaf, but the caffeine for me from the coffee is different from the caffeine from the yerba mate. So if I like the taste of coffee, then I can have something decaffeinated, but the yerba mate is not giving me this, like we talked about before, this jittery feeling. It's not affecting me. It's not affecting my sleep. So I love that. And that it's helping me to continue with the fasting. And then what you said, I got to share, because I remember I reached out to you at one point with the fiber matrix. So if we have carbs, and I'm human, and so I'm going to have carbs. In fact, I even had a pint of dairy-free, gluten-free ice cream. And guess what? I'm human and I don't beat myself up. And I got right back on to after I did that. But I reached out to Amanda and she's, don't worry. You have the Faber matrix. You just take a little bit more. If you take that, it's going to help you to lower that absorption is what it's doing. So that's not going to affect you as much. And that gave me a peace of mind. Now, I'm not saying that my mindset is now I'm going to have this all the time. I'm going to do this, but being human, because we all are, when we do have something sweet, I'm never going to not stop eating something that sweet permanently. Like maybe I have to modify it for carbs or whatever. That we have a sense of a peace of mind. To me, that was priceless.
Like a cushion. It's like a cushion.
Yes, I'm not. Yeah,
you want to enjoy life.
Yeah, it's willpower in a pack and a carb blocker.
Yes. And if I ask myself, and I think the question that people listening today may want to ask themselves too, if I had to do this the rest of my life and stay on the yerba mate and doing these things, which it can help obviously not have to take medication, I totally would rather do something like this because it sounds like the products help us, they help sustain, in addition to the intermittent fasting, restricted eating type lifestyle. So would I rather do that to prevent my prediabetes from getting worse than take, in addition to lifestyle modifications, of course, we're not going to forget those. Hey, you guys know I do this for a living. I teach injury. My focus is pain relief and injury prevention. And I need to keep strong. And that includes strength. That includes, you guys know, therapeutic Pilates, all that stuff. Right. And I'm able to do all that stuff. I'm not tired. I'm able to do the things I need to do. And that's important because we want to be able to sustain our bodies. We need muscle mass. And especially as women over 40, between 40 and 70, we need muscle mass for all kinds of things. That's key. So yeah, this gives me reinforcement just talking to you guys today. This has been extremely helpful. And I thank you guys both for coming on here. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up? Because this has been awesome.
I just want to mention that I think I briefly mentioned it decreases inflammation. So if you have neuropathy, you mentioned pain, people with joint pain, chronic pain, this decreases inflammation as well. And as you bring down your insulin levels, that itself will decrease inflammation and pain. And we have many testimonials on reducing pain. They don't have neuropathy pain anymore. And this has vitamins from A to Z. This has more vitamins from A to Z. Argentinians call it God's milk because it can sustain life with this tea. And it's been around for thousands of years. So I just want to mention that.
No, that's great. And one more thing is we're fixing the problem, Carrie. We're not band-aiding it. Medication band-aids it. We are fixing it. And these supplements, these tools help fix it.
Yeah.
Well, addressing the root cause. So when you address the root cause, everything else will fall off.
That's right. No quick fix. That's it, guys. Better than that. There's no quick fix out there. This is a lifestyle. And we know that. So we have to get to the root cause of everything. And so this is another natural tool. So if you're interested in learning more about the Feel Great system, the link will be in the description of this episode. And some of you today may be struggling with pain, like we talked about, back pain, joint pain, stiffness. And I'd love to connect. So if you're ready to live pain-free, you have natural tools that have been presented today, but you want to enjoy your favorite activities with confidence, that's me. I love it. Over 26 years of experience helping people improve their health, alleviate back pain, stiffness, other discomforts, and I'm ready to help you. So schedule your consultation today. You can do this by reaching out to support@movementcraft.com. And if you're a listener of the Better Than a Pill podcast, you get a special rate. So if you sign up today, please do that. Remember, we release new episodes every other week on Wednesday, and I truly look forward to having you join me then.